Okay, guys. The Brave and the Beautiful came in today during the snow. It was super icy, but we're gonna do our round table since there's only three of us as a podcast, and we'll stick it in the newsletter for all of you guys that are sitting in front of Netflix right now watching TV when you should be working. Right? You should be showing homes, doing something else.
At least setting up searches, right?
Exactly.
And it's for up to you to decide who here is brave and who is beautiful.
Beautiful.
That's right. That's right. Exactly. Well, Beautiful texted and said that the snow was so bad that she was sliding around on the, so she didn't get here because there was going to be four of us, but one of them, the Beautiful, actually dropped out.
Yeah.
Right.
Beautiful dropped out.
So
it's
just us
us.
losers here.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we had nothing else to do.
That's right.
I chose not to do a load of laundry today because I had to come in for the round
Right.
table. So.
I did a presentation at 7 a.m. downtown, and it was pretty ugly coming in.
Really?
Yep, it was pretty bad. So lots of ice, and I'm on Cheyenne Mountain, so it was
Oh,
slick.
yeah.
Yeah.
You're like, I have to go all the way up to Acquire.
Yeah.
Wow, for a
Yeah.
round table.
Hey,
With-
but I get to be on video.
Exactly.
This is
That's right.
perfect.
That's right. So let's talk about right now the rates. Rates have been coming down, and I just saw yesterday they've come way down. What are they at right now?
I just quoted some folks this morning, 6.25 on a 30-year fixed. Not first-time home buyers even.
And I've seen-
6.25.
And that was a 5% down transaction. So they got great credit, 1% origination kind of deal.
So you're
they're coming
telling
down.
me 5%? I could get a buyer that can put 5% down
Mm-hmm.
and get a 6.25 rate today
Today
on a conventional.
on a conventional loan.
What
Yeah.
about FHA and VA?
You're probably seeing in the, 6 or just in the high fives. So they're usually about a half
Like
a point lower.
5.825,
5.75 -ish.
5.75.
Yeah.
So what you're telling me
7,
is
8,
anybody
yeah.
that we got in there for like 7.75 should
be-
probably refinancing at 5 point. I mean, that's two drop.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's only if they
That's a purchase.
had a 6 month. If they had their loan for at least 6 months.
Yeah,
Is
so
it
not
6?
all companies do this EPO, the early payoff. So not all companies adhere to that. And generally, if rates go down that much, we as loan officers will eat that. So, as real estate agents, once you get your check, you get your check. And
Yeah.
so we were talking about this yesterday. So just to explain, as a loan officer, you get paid, you get your commission, and then that loan gets bought and sold on the secondary market. And so there's a period in which most independent mortgage bankers have to hold that loan in order to recoup their funds for what they paid us as a broker.
Right.
And so that's generally about a 6-month window. So most of us, not all, but most of us have a window. You close a loan, and if it gets paid off, refinanced, sold property, whatever the case is, in a 6-month window, your commission gets pulled back from that.
Ooh.
So it can get a little ugly. So in a perfect world, yeah, if rates drop that much, you want to go back to your client and at least get any kind of commission to offset what you're going to lose.
Yeah.
So right now, if we had a client that purchased like February, March, do you remember what rates were back then? I don't even remember.
They were in the high 7s.
Okay.
I had one
So those are the people we should be calling.
Yeah,
Going,
absolutely.
you should refinance.
Yeah.
7%. They went under a contract in April at 7 on a listing of mine. That was last April.
Yeah.
So
And what you're seeing now is all those 2-1 buy downs that were done over the last year,
Right.
2 years. Those are all going to start flipping. Their payments have gone up gradually.
right.
Oh,
well,
my
plus
So now is the
plus
time
now
to get
a
those in.
resale can sort of compete with the new build because the builders are buying down the rate.
Yeah.
But remember I don't know, it's been a few months ago now, there was an article in Forbes where all the analysts for these entities, Shearson Lehman, Goldman Sachs, NAR, they've got their predictions on what rates are going to do.
Mm-hmm.
And they were saying by the end of fourth quarter, like right now, in the low 6s. And then, of course, 2 weeks after that, they said, or the rates actually like about a month later, the rates were up to 8.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going, well, so much for that article. Well, now it's looking like it's true. And some of them went as far as to say that we're going to be in the 5s, low 5s next year.
Yeah, that was
In
the
24.
forecast.
Conventional.
Yeah, conventional rates.
Yeah,
so.
conventional.
VA rates right now, in the last few years for sure, have been about a half a point lower than normal 30-year fixed rates.
So this is going to keep prices, I feel. Prices now, I mean, people think that prices are crashing. They're not. They're settling,
Yeah.
right? They're settling. I think they're going to now go steady, and we start, see, 5.75%, 6%. You might start seeing some competitive.
And it's a
bidding.
mindset shift too, right?
Yeah.
Where you've got, well, so I did a chart this morning, the affordability, the gap between home ownership and rental affordability is the biggest it's been in a long time, years, almost a decade. So renting right now is actually cheaper than home ownership given high 7 rates, right?
Yes,
Right,
right.
right.
Yes,
High 7
exactly.
rates.
Yes.
So as the rates come back down, you should see, we as agents should see that affordability come back down to a point where it makes more sense to buy than rent. And then, the downside is, and this is the conversation I've been having with first-time home buyers right now, is get a house now, even though rates are 7-8%.
Yes.
If you can afford it now, you'll certainly be able to afford it later. But 2 years ago, 3 years ago, 4 years ago, you weren't in the mix for that house. That 340, 350 house went for 375, and there were 18 bids on it. and
Right.
yours never would have gotten accepted.
Sure.
So get into it now.
You needed that extra cash in the bank
Yeah.
for the appraisal gap.
Right.
But if you really think about it, somebody, let's just take an average first-time home buyer. Let's say they can afford like a $2,000 payment,
Right.
right? And they're looking at homes that are like 400,000, or no, less,
Yeah.
350.
Let's bump that to $3,000 payment, and then
Right,
they're looking
yeah,
at
yeah, hold on.
about a $300,000
So
loan.
what you said is, hey, get in now
Yeah.
and then refinance. You really don't want to if you're, let's say you can only afford 300,000 and everything's a piece of crap. You're digging out of the bottom of the garbage can,
Yeah.
and so all of a sudden rates come down. Now I can get a 400 instead of a $300,000 home. I can get a $400,000 home.
But that rule of supply and demand is going to kick in, right? So now that $400,000 house, as more people jump into that market, I mean, in the last 6 months, we haven't had very many buyers in the buyer pool.
But how do you think we get the public to know? Right now, everybody's so scared. They still feel like they're in the 8s.
Right.
I mean, it takes all of us to be picking up the
Right.
phones and picking up the
Right.
phones. And, so many agents are getting out of the business right now because they're,
It's great.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Right.
That's right.
For us to become the source, being in mortgages for 20 years, like you're the source of information, right? So people
That's
are calling
right.
you, do you have a plumber? Do you have a roofer? Do you have this? Do you have what's going on with the
Right.
rates? What's going on with the market?
Yeah.
So you guys actually have I say you guys, I'm part of you guys now.
Yeah, that's right.
So as a realtor, right, you're supposed to be the tip of the spear in terms of information.
Sure.
So, running salespeople for years, that's one thing you can't be afraid to pick up the phone.
Yeah.
I mean, you can do everything digitally and on, I don't even know what it is, TikTok
Right.
and all the other stuff. But picking up the phone has such value.
It is huge because, I'm in this leads group down in downtown on Tuesdays, and they're always talking about the top feeder leads people, right? They're always like, yeah, he's a top feeder. He's a top feeder,
Right.
And then there's always bottom feeders, the electricians and plumbers and stuff.
Yeah.
And they literally are depending on us top feeders to
Right.
help them survive. I mean, can you believe that?
Yeah.
And I'm sitting in that leads group. That is so true. I am a top feeder. We are
Right.
all top feeders.
Any salespeople, right?
That's
you're the
right.
top of the top
Well, yeah,
of the
if
team.
you're a small businessman, I don't care if you sell real estate or if you repair toilets, you're a sales guy.
Well, yeah, but
Period.
Yeah.
we're
Very true.
But they're not top feeders.
Right.
Yeah.
Well,
Right.
sure. I'll need 6 guys in a transaction. Oh man, we're going to need to get the house painted.
Yep.
Yeah, we need a septic guy. we need an electrician. I
I
got
think
somebody to
that's
check
the-
the roof.
Yeah.
So having those guys to me is something I tell people. Hey, it's just not me. I got a whole list of people that's going to help us get from point A to point B in this transaction.
I think that's the
We might need an
man. What an
electrician.
eye opener as coming from the other side, being one of the recipients of one of those needed people
Yeah.
from the mortgage side. The amount, they always say in one real estate transaction, partly why this economy's kind of tanked, right? One real estate transaction, there's 8 to 9 different industries that get paid out of that.
Right.
Right.
Mhm.
Real
Oh, yeah,
estate,
totally.
mortgage, title,
Right.
insurance, home inspectors,
Yep.
all the everybody you just mentioned,
Yeah.
plumbers, roofers, XYZ. And then even further than that, the mortgage people, the secondary side of that it gets packaged, home warranties, all that. So just, for our rates to be this high and that volume to go down. But anyway, that was the biggest,
Oh, humongous.
what an impact. I mean, just throughout
Yes.
our little town of Colorado Springs, the impact has been huge, right?
Yes.
So, that's been the biggest eye opener for me as being on this side. Like, it's always, I'm a mortgage guy, I do a great job. Why wouldn't you use me?
Right.
And then you guys are the ones that we're all so subservient to, the agent, because you guys have that referral, you have that knowledge, you have that ability to go, let's use, here's a few people that I use. And if you're at the top of that list, that feeder list, man, you guys have so much power.
Right.
It's
I mean,
truly unbelievable.
It's amazing. Sometimes, there's so many people that walk in the door of the office. They ring the bell, bing. And I walk up there and they're like, yeah, I'd like to talk to somebody who's in charge. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm in charge, I guess.
Give them to somebody
Right?
else.
And they're like,
Who's asking?
I'm a cleaning company, I'm an electrician, I'm new to the area, I'm a painter, I'm a this and that, I do detail cars or whatever. And I'm sitting there going, okay, yeah, give me your card. I'm just all nice to them because,
Yeah.
I know what it's like for them trying to get more business.
Right.
And they're like treating me like I'm a cop. Yes,
Yeah.
sir. Yes, sir.
Right.
Mhm. Yes, sir. Like,
Yeah.
I could literally go, can I write you up a ticket really quick? Yeah,
It's like
absolutely.
it's a job interview.
They would be like, absolutely,
Yeah.
write me up.
Yep. Yeah.
I
Every transaction's a job.
I did
interview.
an open house last summer on a $900,000 listing. I had 5 people show up, 3 couples, but 2 were home inspectors. It's a little gift bag, which is great because I didn't
Right.
eat.
Yeah.
Right, so I got a bag of chips and a candy bar. Out of the
Right,
deal.
exactly.
But 2 of them were home inspectors driving around looking for open house signs with, hey, if you don't have a home inspector, here's my information.
Yeah.
Here's my pamphlet with,
And we've all
whatever
been
this
there.
is. Yeah,
Oh,
absolutely.
yeah. I'm
you
there
know.
on your side
Yeah,
now, right?
Right,
You know?
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Kind of, don't have to do that anymore on the mortgage side. But
Right, exactly.
yeah, the dynamic is different for sure. But yeah, the amount of power that the realtor has it's pretty amazing. To
It
see
is,
this side of it.
yeah. But you don't realize that when you get in. You feel like you're like this low life salesman that nobody wants to talk to.
Right.
Yeah.
But yet, there's a million people that want to talk to you.
Right. Until you start talking
And all you-
commissions.
Until
Yeah.
you start talking about selling or buying, then they
And how
run.
much is that going to cost me?
And nobody wants to be the, there's the car salesman method where it's like, what can I do to put you in this house
Yeah.
today?
Used
Yes,
cars.
right.
You know,
Exactly.
and it's, we're not, can't do that in real
Right.
estate.
That's like the mortgage
you know.
business in the
It's,
mid 2000s. I would rather told
relationships.
people.
Hi, I'm growing relationships one phone call at a time, right?
Yeah.
That's what it's about. To me, and it's we were just talking about this earlier. 22 years ago, I was going to Jones Real Estate School.
Yep.
So
I went to Jones.
So I've been in the business now longer than I ever thought I would be able to survive.
Right.
And here we are, for better, for worse, right?
Yep.
You made your 3-year mark. You're good.
Yeah. I figured, 22 years, I'll probably have my own plane.
Right, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
right.
not. I don't. Okay. But, I think when it comes to having that list of people, it makes your transactions much easier because there's always something from the buyer side or the seller side where it's like, wow, we need a new electric panel or there's something weird going on with the foundation. Who do we call to
Yeah.
get a foundation inspection for somebody that's not going to want to sell them a new foundation, right? So it's important that we have that. And I'll get people calling me that I sold a house to 10 years ago going, man, do you have a concrete guy? My driveway's trashed.
Right.
Yeah, let me send you my guy. You know, and I think that's important. So
That's funny,
if
man.
they're going to call you when they need to change their toilet
Yeah.
on who they should call, they're probably going to call you when they need to buy or sell a house,
Right.
hopefully.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Well, so let's talk about that a little bit, because I feel like when, we're talking about how we're top feeders, but until you start talking about selling or buying, and all of a sudden it seems like they run the other direction or whatever. I do think that as a realtor, we're a people person. And if you're not a people person, you have to learn how to be a people person. So I don't know how you guys were when you were younger, but I remember, in school I was kind of shy. You go to the parties and I just kind of sit, up against the wall, or the dances, you sit up against the wall, and I don't really talk to people. And then I'd see all the jocks that just had all the confidence in the world. They're like, yeah, I'm so, and they're out there on the dance floor, and I'm just like, man, I wish I could be like those guys. Those guys are so cool and whatever. It really took me to get out of my shell and go, okay, I'm going to literally approach someone and start talking to them,
Really?
and just listen to them and try to be their friend or whatever. And so I started doing that. I had to purposefully do that, right? Because it wasn't my nature. And so then now I go to a party, I will hit every single person in that room. I'm going up, and I just want to learn about people now, right? So that's why in my poker
Mindset shift.
it becomes, and it wasn't because I was salesy, it was because I wanted to learn more about other people and who they were.
Right.
Because I don't know, to me that's interesting.
Yeah.
Right.
It's interesting to know about people's lives and different things. Like the other day I was at a Christmas party, and there's this little old guy, he was like 91 years old, sitting next to me. And I purposely came and sat down by him because he's by himself with his
Right.
wife.
Yeah.
The old people are just sitting there and nobody wants to talk to him,
Yeah.
right? But I want to hear
The amazing stories coming out.
amazing
of that.
stories. So I go sit down, and he's like, yeah, the story he had was so unbelievable. Like he was part of like the space program and all kinds of stuff, and what he did, and all this corporation that he was telling me he was like CEO of, and how he started at the bottom, and he was at Kennedy Space Center,
Right.
and he was just their photographer and all this like that, and he just rose up to this huge thing.
That's cool.
And I'm like, and how did you end up in Colorado Springs? He goes, somebody just told me about it, and I came here, and I've been here now for 20 years. I've been retired, for a long time.
Right.
I'm 91 years old, and I just live down the street.
No kidding.
And then he started talking to me about, we're kind of looking into selling our house at some point. I'm 91. I don't know what to do, like stay there or maybe sell and go to retirement center. And I was like, let me pull out one of my cards. And I pull out my chips, right?
Oh, you got those. Yeah. Those are awesome.
And it's like, I couldn't believe how that happened at a
you
party,
weren't
because he
pushy.
was sitting there. I wasn't pushy. We were just, but I was genuinely interested in his story. I was like, this is unbelievable. Are you serious? You worked? I can't believe. Like I was blown away.
Yeah.
And then I went around the party to other people I didn't talk to and go, hey, you see that guy over there?
Right.
That guy used to be blah, blah, blah. They're like, what? You got to be kidding. And then
Now
all of a
everyone's
sudden, now
starting
I'm
to talk
talking
to
to
him.
these people.
Yeah.
Right?
Right, yeah.
And it's like you have to learn how to, and I wasn't doing that just to get business.
No, genuinely doing it.
You're doing that
Yeah.
just because it's so interesting. So
I think that's the benefit of, or at least, coming from the mortgage side, I get to see your credit score, your income, your work history, where you live.
Yeah.
You get this big, deep glimpse into people. And that's what all salespeople, right? We should be inquiring with genuine interest.
Yes.
I mean, that's
But you're not
how-
a salesperson.
Yeah,
then.
right.
I want to know
So
who you
we
are.
were talking about. So you're telling me that you're a trapeze artist for Cirque du Soleil.
Right.
Man, I
Oh,
can't wait
cool.
to tell that story when I get home.
Exactly.
Yeah, you'll never guess who I got today as a client, you know.
Right.
And,
Yes.
and it's, everybody has their story,
Yeah.
and even if they're shy, they want to tell it.
That's
Yeah.
right.
They definitely want to tell it.
But
Yeah.
you're right. That is,
That's right.
it's not ingrained in everybody. That
Uh-huh.
doesn't. That just. It's not a natural. You know, you've probably been talking to people your whole life, right? You
Always.
working TV.
Yeah, I didn't even know
Yeah.
that I was outgoing. And when I was in 7th grade for the end of the year awards,
Yeah.
most likely to become an astronaut or whatever.
Yeah.
I didn't get that one, by the way.
Yeah. I think I got most likely not to shut up.
I got the funniest person,
Right.
and I walking up to get my little plaque and a 6-pack of orange soda, and I'm like, what? Really? I didn't get it. I didn't understand it. Of course, that made everybody laugh. Because
Right,
I'm
of
like,
course.
what?
Right.
I'm like, oh, I guess I am funny because I'm not trying to be funny, and they're laughing.
Right.
It might have been my I grew 6 inches, and my brand new jeans were up to my ankles, so I looked funny. But
Yeah, of course.
I didn't even realize I was outgoing and a performer personality
Sure.
trait
Yeah.
until people told me that.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And you kind of you direct yourself towards a sales position, and that's
Yeah.
like that. Once you get out of TV, you flourished. In,
Well, when I was in TV, I was behind the camera
Yeah.
for obvious reasons.
I got. My mom always said I had
Yeah.
a radio face.
Yeah. So I was behind the camera, but my job was to get interviews, and so it was a sales job. I'd have to get somebody to give up their time so that we can come in, invade their office for an hour to do an interview. For I've got a reporter and a photographer, got a news crew. I can get them there in 20 minutes. And for a lot of people, that's, boy, I got a lot to do today. For some people, it's like, great. I'll do an interview about the interest rates. If I'm a lender or a realtor, that's great promotion. But for city, the police chief or whoever, a county commissioner, they're like, man, I'm really busy. So it was a sales job.
Yeah.
Or how about this? Yeah, your husband was killed in a plane crash. Can we come and interview you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was
yeah.
that was
To
the hard
overcome that
sell. It's
one.
like, yeah, will you make that call, Dave? Sure.
Yeah.
But have you ever met those people in your life? Because I feel like just us three, we're old enough to where we have some amazing experiences that nobody knows about, right? That you're not running around telling people about
Right.
what you've done or things that have happened or whatever because you just don't think about it.
Right.
Have you ever met those people that come into your life and they're like, "Hey, how you doing, man? What's your name? Well, and they start talking and
Yeah.
and they start drawing some of that stuff out of
Right.
you because they're interested in it, and you're
Yeah.
like, "Oh yeah, I used to. Oh yeah," and not that they know about it, but the way they talk to you, they're so interested in you, it starts bringing up memories,
Yeah.
right? And then you have this connection with this
Creating
person,
common threads.
right?
Right.
And if that person was a salesman,
Sorry.
Renewal by Anderson, right? They're
Mhm.
like huge window company, right?
Yeah.
The most expensive. Well, I know this guy that's one of the top salesmen. He has me over to his house, and he has all these other salesman people over there, and we're all playing poker, of course,
Yeah.
right? Dude, I'm looking at these guys. They are the biggest studs I've ever known in my life. Like,
Top sales guys.
dude, they're not salesy at all. They're
Yeah.
just the coolest, friendliest. Like, I want to buy some windows so I don't disappoint them.
Right.
Right?
It's a change, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm going, wow, this Renewal by Anderson, the reason why they're so big is because the people they hire like this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're just interesting and interested in people. And so when they're doing their little sales pitch, everybody knows it's a sales pitch. But they like the guy so much that they just want to buy. They want to spend $100,000 on windows right now,
But
And-
that's a learned. I spent a lot of years trying to going through sales classes, teaching as a manager, you're trying to teach people how to sell. I got the best piece of advice when I was running a bike shop in college, and this old hillbilly from South Carolina came in. He was selling locks and helmets, and he said, He said, man, telling ain't selling. Asking questions is.
Right.
Like,
That's
huh?
funny.
And then it's so like I've used that for 40 years almost. You know, like,
Telling ain't selling.
that's a-
Asking questions.
it's
That
a
is
true thing.
beautiful.
Yeah, it is. You know, I mean, especially in this business, this is the biggest purchase someone's ever going to make.
Yes.
Right?
Right.
You have such an impact on the next 5, 10, 15, 20, 30 years of their life.
Yeah.
And so for us not to ask questions about, hey, what are you looking for? What impact is this going to have on you? How is this one feature of a house going to benefit you? Man, if we missed the boat on that to not and just find them a house, like, oh,
Yeah.
you need a house to get a house.
Yeah.
Man, we missed the boat.
Yeah, I want you to love the house.
Yeah.
I tell people I'd rather have a happy $300,000 client than an angry $2 million client.
Right.
Because I want them to love it. I want, it's like, hey, I sold you this car and it's a lemon. Oh, you're not going to come and buy another car from me.
I
Right?
just told these
Right.
kids I closed the other day. I was like, if I did my job right, you don't ever have to call me again. You guys just live your life here.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, if I did my job right as a mortgage guy, like, hey, I got you a rate in the twos. You don't ever have
Yeah.
to do this again. Or, I don't know. It's a big responsibility that we have as mortgage, real estate, just this whole process. So yeah, if you don't get to know somebody, if
Yeah.
you don't have legitimate interest in what their interests are,
Yeah.
man, we're missing the boat.
But where's the fine line between sales and servanthood, right? So we have to serve people and literally serve
Serve.
people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But at the same time, we have to ASK.
Yeah,
Right.
sure.
So we have to be salespeople.
I think that's
Well, and I think listening is the biggest part. I had an occasion, one of my friends, her father was an amazing individual. He, he's in the CSU Baseball Hall of Fame. He was I think he was a minor league pitcher way back. I mean, way back. He was a distributor for Budweiser or Coors or something like that. In the Oakland area years ago, and he was buddies with all the Raiders. And he'd tell me about, oh yeah, me and Casper and Stabler were playing golf, and so he's got these life stories that are like, wow, this is amazing. What a life this man has led. And then we were talking about something, and somebody asked me about. So I was relaying a story when I worked in news, and it was a big event, and spot news coverage and national coverage, and my team and I kicked butt, and this man who's had so much life experience that most people dream about is listening to me so intently. Like, dinner's ready. He's like, hang on for a second. Go ahead and finish your story, Dave.
Wow.
And I was like, and I'll never forget that. It's like, wow, I am impressing something that I lived and did impress this man who has led this amazing life. And I thought, and I've learned from that, because if you listen and just listen to people, which is
Right.
the easiest thing to do, you don't have to use your vocal cords or nothing,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
You listen to them, and wow, thank you for being so intent and caring
Yeah.
about
right.
my life, right? And sometimes that's hard for me with I did a personality profile once, and they labeled me an Olympian because I'm always performing. So, so
Well, if you think about what you just said, this guy is on a pedestal up here. You're down here looking at this guy going, this is the most amazing experience,
Right.
dude, on the planet. Like, you're looking up at him, and you have so much, just a privilege to talk to him. right?
Absolutely.
So then he puts you up here.
right.
What are you going to think of this guy now? You're going to think this guy is the biggest stud on the planet.
Yeah.
Because he's putting you up here. His humility
Right.
is
He
making
just-
you, he's interested in you. And you're like, wow.
He's got these hash marks of experiences that I'll never have.
Right,
And my story was compelling to him.
right.
If it was or wasn't,
Made you feel that
doesn't
way,
matter.
right?
My perception was, this is wow. You've had some great experiences in your life. if he thought that or not, that's what
Yep.
I perceive. That's what he put out there for me to perceive.
Right.
And it wasn't a sales job. He was retired. He didn't want me to buy any beer from him, right? It was really awesome. I'll never forget
That is
it.
funny you say that. You know, you were the one telling the story about that, but you know, I had mortgage people for years and years and years. They'd have an interview or they'd have a meeting with an agent. They're like, "Well, what do I say? Do I pitch products? What do I do?" And I would always say, "No. If the less you talk in these meetings, the better it's going to go, because they're
Right.
going to walk away going, man, that guy was cool. They asked me all kinds of questions
Yeah.
about myself, and you know, like the more." Whether it's a referral partner or a business partner or a consumer or a client, the more they're doing the talking, the more we win.
Yeah.
You know, the more we can learn,
Yep.
you know, about what their needs are. And two, they're going to walk away going, man, that guy didn't pitch me anything.
Well,
he didn't
right.
sell anything. Like
Right.
we
Yeah.
just listened and gave information. You give educated information. And I treat sales like my kids. You know, if I listen enough, I know what they need and I know what they want, and I like you and I know what the best decision is for somebody with a house, right?
Right.
You know, you know exactly what house they're going to pick. If they look at 20 of them, you go, well, this one works the best.
Right.
But if you can ask those questions into allowing them to narrow themselves into those houses, then you didn't sell anything.
Right.
You know, yeah, you got a sale, but you didn't sell anything. You just asked the right questions so that they made the realization of, oh yeah, Rob's the best agent I know because he helped me find this house.
Right.
He didn't sell me this house. He helped me
Yep.
find
Right.
this house. So
Yep.
yeah, it's a little different approach, but and we all hate the used car lots, right? I mean,
Yeah.
Nobody wants to get pissed
Yeah,
like that.
Right.
We shop on Sunday. You know, if you're looking for a car,
Yeah.
go look on Sunday. If you see what you want,
Yeah. We
show
all
up
based
during
on
the
the
week.
referrals, right? I mean, so that's always what I've said to my salespeople is just the less you say, the better, and the more you ask, the more they're going to think that you did a better job.
Yeah, I remember when I first bought a Saturn. When Saturn came out,
Oh yeah.
they were no haggle. Salesman, I think, got paid maybe a little bonus plus, you know, a salary or something type thing. So I walk in. We go to multiple different dealers, and the people are like, "What would it take for you to buy this thing?" No, you know, and they're like, you know, some people were cussing and stuff because I had long hair, and they thought that's who I was. And I was like, "Oh, I can't wait to get out of here." I go to Saturn. The guy comes walking. I'm like, "Oh crap! Here comes the guy." He goes, "Hey, if you have any questions, just come and talk to me. I'm gonna be inside. We're like a no commission type company, and just let me know." And he walks back in, and I was like, "That was awesome."
Yeah.
I bought a brand new Saturn.
They'll walk away.
And I sat down, and he's like, "You know, at this company, we don't do any haggling or anything. It's the price is what it is."
Yeah.
So, and I was like, "Okay, where'd I sign?" I could not believe it. It was basically the experience
Yeah.
that sold me the Saturn.
Right.
So that is, I've talked to a lot of in the past. I've talked to a lot of my salespeople about that commission breath, where people can tell, you're trying to sell them something,
Right.
just so you can pay PPAR dues or E&O insurance or
Yeah.
all these costs that are coming up. They can tell that you're trying to sell them something, and those are the ones. You probably know the statistics of people that use the realtor that they bought the house with, but it's low, for a second transaction.
Oh yeah, right.
Because they feel like they got sold something, or
Right.
they feel like they didn't get they didn't have the experience, they didn't have the Saturn
They
experience.
didn't have the experience. Exactly.
Right. Right.
Yeah,
This experience was the salesperson was just trying to get him to close.
yeah, and that's it. If you being able to walk away, that's why I always told the mortgage people, like, you got to be able to sell with the ability to walk away.
You have to
Just
you have to
go,
let go of
yeah.
let go of the outcome.
Yeah,
It's
That's
just like in
right. You
sports,
You buy great,
right?
you don't
Yeah.
buy, it's not going to kill me.
Right.
Let's make sure it's right for
Yeah.
you.
It's
Yeah.
like in sports, Okay, if you make this free throw, you win. If you lose, you lose.
Yeah.
Versus, well, if you make this free throw, no big deal, or miss, no big deal, because you're up by 27 points, right?
Right.
You make that free throw 90% of the time, the one that matters,
Yeah.
right? So you just let go. I remember my very, very first listing appointment ever. I am driving there. I'm nervous. You know, I go see some experienced agents in my office. I'm like, okay, I'm going to this listing appointment. I met her knocking on doors, and so I'm nervous. I'm like,
You were knocking doors. Wow, that's awesome.
I'm like, oh, I can't wait for this to be over, because I was like literally like more nervous than any sporting event I played in
Yes,
high
sure,
school.
sure.
More nervous for my wedding, right? I was more nervous than anything in my life, and I'm like, oh, so I'm driving, and but a couple of agents said, hey, just let go of the outcome.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't matter if you get it or you don't. I'm like, well, no, it matters, because the utility company wants money every month.
You're right, exactly.
So I tried to take that. Of course, I got the listing.
Mm-hmm.
It was a funny event because I'm driving there, and it's down a fountain, and I go past a police car parked there, and I just pulled over. He didn't even have to turn his lights on because I was speeding. And he pulls me over,
That's
and
funny.
he's like, so where's the fire? And I'm like, oh, man.
He said that?
Yeah.
That's funny.
And I said, you know what? I'm just going to tell you, I'm going to be perfectly honest with you here. I'm a brand new real estate agent. I'm going to my first listing appointment, and I'm in my pants, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just so nervous, and I just wasn't. He's like, do you have a business card? And so he wanted to see if I had a business card, and here are my homemade cards, right?
Yeah, right.
Homemade, because I had publisher. So he's like, okay, you know, just pay attention to what you're doing, and good luck.
Wow.
So I get there. Fortunately,
incredible.
if you're 15 minutes early and you get pulled over, you're actually right on time. So I get there for my listing appointment, and next thing you know, I've got my first listing.
Dude, that is
That's
awesome.
awesome.
Yeah.
That is.
But I was so nervous, and now I'm still, you know, game
Yeah,
face
sure.
on, you know. But it's like, hey, I'm not going to lie to you. I've had somebody say, so if you didn't need the money, would you be in real estate?
Yeah,
And
that's a
I
good question.
said, you know, to be perfectly honest with you, if I didn't need the money, no. I'd be traveling. I would be doing other things. I wouldn't,
But
Yeah.
back then you might have.
Uh,
I mean, now that we're older, yes.
you know.
But I got into real estate because I loved it so much. I was doing it for free.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I was just, investing and
Doing
stuff.
it on your own.
But
So then when I was getting paid to do it, I was like, this is all, I don't believe I get paid for this. Like, this is unbelievable.
That's what we just talked the
Yeah.
other day. I had a first close. You guys literally make 3 times what I'm used to making on a transaction.
Yeah.
Like, what in the hell? This doesn't make sense. You get to do this for fun,
But
and
you know
then
what?
get paid?
It's
Right.
it's hard.
It is hard. Yeah,
It's
yeah.
hard, you
Yeah.
know. I mean, when I've always been so involved with my client that when it's like, oh man, you're going to need a new electric panel because, or how about this? You have to get a new furnace
Uh-huh.
because the inspector red tagged it. He called the utility company to come out and they're not turning it back on. So you have to get a new furnace if you close this deal or not.
Right.
You know, and they're like, well, how much is that? And I go, well, I've already got a guy coming out tomorrow. And so I'm worried about this as if that $5,000 or whatever is coming out of my pocket.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's my mentality. And
That's
I
what
need-
keeps you in
and
this
I need,
business for
I need
20
to
years.
step back and, you know, they need a new furnace, not you. But it's hard when, you know, you these people are entrusting you for a major deal if they're buying or selling,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and, you
So
know.
how is that? I'm curious. I've been watching a lot from the mortgage side. All this commission stuff. I feel like Colorado is far more advanced than most states, probably in how this commission piece is going to play out.
Mm-hmm.
Just the way our disclosures are already pre-done. They're pretty transparent. It's just a matter, in my opinion, it's just a matter of us as an agent relaying how it actually works to a consumer. So you've been doing this for a long
Mm-hmm.
time. Are you nervous at all about
The commission structure?
explaining the commission
No,
structure to
I'm
people?
not.
I'm not either.
It's one of those
But
things
for a lot of
where
the new people, like a lot of us, I'm sure there's a lot of new people that'll watch this and go, "Oh God, I don't want to have this conversation."
Well, I feel like that whole lawsuit and everything is going to have to be amended greatly into something else, in the appeals process, because if the government would realize, because these attorneys are winning, they're making millions and tons of money. The buyers will get pennies, right? Or the sellers will get pennies.
Yeah.
And I think the changes, if the government makes a change, it's really going to hurt everybody that doesn't have a lot of money.
Yeah.
It's going to make the first-time home buyers go away.
Well,
it's going to make the veterans go away. It's going to make anybody. It's going to separate the classes like
Even
this
further.
again.
It's going to the cash poor buyer,
Yes.
or the now you're going to have to save another, in this market, 12 to 20 grand on top of your closing costs, on top of your down payment.
Yes.
Now you need, okay, great. I saved.
And there's
20.
concessions. I mean, depending on the loan type, there's only a max concession that can be paid
Well,
via. You can't
Well,
pay
so
commissions.
what's going to happen is once it separates the classes, right? Let's say they do say, okay, you guys have to work on an hourly basis, or whatever, or
That would
you
be
can only
great.
charge-
That would be great. I have a client that I would be up to about $52,000. Thank you. You
So-
can make that check payable.
So let's say
to
they do
acquirers.
that, right? And they change something with the commissions. Well, then we're going to go to the government and go, hey, we need to have loans that are not
Yeah.
no money down.
Yeah, this rate.
We
this
need
all
no
has to be
money down
changed.
loans because these people have to save $10,000 to
Yeah.
pay an agent, and then the government's going to go, wait a minute, hold on, what's going on? Well, you allowed this lawsuit to screw the whole
first
industry.
of all, the lawsuit was a civil lawsuit. Okay? It's a civil lawsuit that carries precedent, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
But we still have, our buyer agency agreement says something very simple. Buyer, my success fee is going to be, we're going to get my fee from the seller or the listing company, and buyer, if we don't get it from there, buyer is obligated or buyer is not obligated.
Yeah.
So I always do the obligated.
Right.
That keeps me from getting in trouble for, you didn't show that house because I was only offering 1.5%. And I can say, no, I've already told my buyer that if they don't meet a certain amount, then you got to come up to the difference.
Yeah. One of the things they're wanting to
period.
do is to get it off the MLS to where it doesn't say buyer's
What the
agents we
co-op
give you.
is.
Yes.
Yeah.
They don't want the co-op anymore.
Well, this whole antitrust issue with the MLS, that was a really, really good argument 30 years ago when there was an MLS book,
Yes.
well before my time.
Right.
So, hey, man, you got to get this on the market today because we got to get our stuff in by day after tomorrow.
Yes, right.
So it can go in the next publication, right? Now the MLS is public information. If you want to see what's on the market that used to be private to realtors,
Yep.
it's on the it's go onto anybody's website. JoeBlowRealty.com will have the MLS on the market. If
Yeah.
it's on any MLS, it's public information. So
I heard that Zillow's now posting what a buyer's agent would get.
Really?
Yeah.
Jeez.
boy, Zillow is anti-real estate.
They got a
right,
mortgage company,
but they're
a title
basically
company.
doing everything real estate.
Yeah.
Their stock is shooting through the roof right now.
Yep. I
The
just sold
last
some.
I didn't sell it yet. I'm just going, oh my goodness, I made 2,000 today. Oh, I made 2,000 today. I made 3,000 today. I'm like, I can't believe it's shooting through the roof.
I thought it was super low when they took a $9 billion tank.
Yeah, when they were selling,
No, but
buying properties for $300 and selling them for $260. Yeah.
but I didn't. So
But-
how much did you pay for it? Like I
Oh, I
paid
think I
like
paid-
$80 a share.
Oh no, I think I got it down to like $40. a
Okay,
share
well when they
it was
lost that
bottom.
$9 billion
Yeah.
and they're going down,
Yeah.
no, I think it was $60 a share,
Yeah.
or something like that. So it was like 63.
I
And it was
bought it
from
at that bottom.
it was from 200,
Yeah.
and it kept
You know it had to balance.
and so then it went to 63, and it started turning up a little bit. And I thought, oh crap, this is the bottom. So
Yeah.
I bought it. It went down to what, 32?
Yeah. I think I got
So
it at
I literally
40
lost
something.
half my money.
But then
Now it's
all
at
coming back.
53. It's coming back.
And you're gonna have some
54, yeah.
unrealized gains, unrealized losses that you can write off when you sell a couple.
Yeah, right now it's 53.84.
Yes, I
Yeah.
saw that today.
Yeah, yeah. It's
So
yeah,
go
that
ahead and
is-
say what you're going to say.
I
I'm
just
sorry,
was gonna say
interrupt.
Zillow that Zillow, like as a realtor, you guys have the all the MLSs have the power because everything is fed into Zillow. They weren't realtors when they started. They're now they're realtors in every state. They had to be represented. So
Yeah.
in order to publish everything, they had to get that feed by joining MLSs. But like as they were getting started, everyone was so money hungry by getting the leads because it was this great lead source.
Right.
But we all have it. We all had it. You guys all, I say that I wasn't a realtor then, but I paid a boatload of money for Zillow
Yeah,
leads back
yeah.
then. But nobody had the foresight to see what that impact was going to be for you guys. They're just like sitting there stealing your business. Because I saw it on the
Oh
mortgage
no, we
side.
all saw it. There's nothing you can do. You know, if you can't beat them, join them. So
Oh,
you know, I was paying $84,000 a year to Zillow
Yeah,
for leads, but I was making probably
the return was worth it.
300, right?
Yeah.
But at the same time, I just got called the other day, 2 days ago, by Zillow, and they were like, "Hey, we want to sell you 80922." Okay, that's a pretty decent.
good
That's over off of Powers,
Yeah.
right? I said, "Really? Well, how much do you have available?" It's $10,000 for 33%. Okay, of the leads. So we can guarantee you'll probably get about 20 leads a month, and you'll probably close about 2 of those. That's average. I said, okay, hold on.
That's 10%.
You want me to spend $10,000 a month? And I started running the numbers.
That's a
with
month,
her.
not a year.
A month.
Yeah, you sound like a mortgage guy talking to a realtor.
$120,000 you want me
Let's do
to
this
commit
math.
to,
Yeah,
so that you
Whether I
give
close
me
anything or
20
not.
leads. On average, I'll close 2.
Yeah.
I'm sure that's your best. That's your, like, what if
AI
I close
says that's
0?
the best.
What if I close 0, right? Okay, our average price range in our area is, let's say, 450 or something,
Five, yeah.
5 or whatever. And then I started running all the numbers, and I was like, wait a minute, you want me to risk 120 grand to make $80,000? Like, that's what
Doesn't
it boiled
pencil.
down to,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And I said, that does not. I am not taking that kind of risk to make 80. Do you understand what you're telling me right now? And she goes, wow, I never thought about that. Like, she works for Zillow. she goes, but we have so many tools and we have so much, we're Zillow. We have I'm like, I don't care who you are. You're telling me to take a risk for $80,000 in my pocket.
I'm gonna take a 40K loss just to.
I said, until you guys change, if you wonder why everybody hates you so bad,
Right.
it's because of
You
this.
just hit the nail
Right.
on the head.
Well, the
So-
biggest problem I've always had with Zillow is anytime you're talking to a client or a potential client, and well, Zillow says my house is worth, and you're going, okay. I don't know where they get their property values from, but it's 90% way high or way low. Okay, I had a guy call me. This is when these certain condos were selling for like 135. Man, I need to sell my condo. Zillow just sent me an email saying, or I just checked on Zillow and it says it's worth 200. And I did comps. I go, well, I think we could get it to like 135, 140, but, and that's just raw data. It's not my opinion.
Right.
It's raw data,
Right.
And then of course you get the ones where they were under.
Right. So I utilize that to the hilt.
Yeah.
I love,
Yeah.
when they're under.
Yeah.
And I go in, I go, your house is worth 500. Like, really? Zillow says 400. I'm like, oh yeah, no, it's
Yeah.
worth 500.
Yeah.
So I'm in.
Yeah. And that's always the hardest part when it's over, because it's like, this guy, I'm not using him.
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
I'm not going to make any money if I use him, right?
Mhm.
Because
Yep.
Zillow says this. So anytime I'd hear, well, Zillow says, I'm just like going, okay. Crap. They're on Zillow. You know,
Yeah.
it was
Like your
a
dentist
four-letter
telling you
word.
you have cancer.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Yeah. How's your
Well-
health? Well, according to the plumber
Yeah,
across the street, I'm doing great. Yeah.
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 So it's funny because when I used to go to, well, when I go to listing appointments or whatever, I don't know why I just thought of this or whatever you said, but I'd go to a listing appointment and they were interviewing multiple agents, maybe on
Yeah.
Zillow or wherever. And they'd go, what do you charge? And I'd say, well, I charge 3%. But then you're going to want me to pass 3% to a buyer's agent. So total of 6. And they're like, really? Wow, we met with a RE/MAX agent. He's going to charge us 9%. That bastard. I didn't realize. I was like, whoa, yeah, I go, that wouldn't be good. And I go, yeah, I only charge 3, and then you pass on 3. Well, I left and I realized,
They thought it was total.
They were, when I said I'm charged 3 and you
They thought
pass
that
on
was
3,
total.
the RE/MAX guy said, I charge 6%.
Yeah. And I'm
So
going
then they added the buy, and it's
Yeah.
9%, right? So I realized, oh, dude, I'm doing that from now on. Like,
Yeah.
I'm just going to tell them the same way I charge 3% because it puts it in perspective. I only get to keep 3%.
Yeah.
Right.
But I realize it's probably in some of their minds, they're thinking whoever says
Isn't
I
this the
charge
basis
6.
of that lawsuit, right? I mean, that's,
Well,
everyone's
yeah.
going, oh yeah, it's 6%.
Right, exactly. So,
But that's not right. That's not a. That's an agent not doing a good job explaining.
communicating. Yeah.
I've been running numbers for people.
right,
and
I'm trying to
explaining
put it
for
in
20
perspective
years.
because if I say
I've had
6,
that asked.
Yeah.
yeah.
So are you telling me I'm paying 9? No. And now I clarify.
Oh, yeah, see,
So
yes.
I'm paying. You're gonna charge. I'm gonna pay.
He
You're
was the
gonna pay,
9% guy that came in before you.
You're gonna pay. That's right. You're gonna pay me 6, and I'm gonna pay the buyer agent.
Right.
But see,
and
you-
then
But,
they- and then
but
they
see,
say-
I do it ahead of time before they even ask. Because
Yeah.
what if they don't ask that?
Oh,
But the
well,
way-
I tell them up front. This is the fee.
Okay.
and you gotta be even.
I give them a
More?
net sheet too.
You got to be even more clear on that because the way it works, they're not paying you, they're paying your company.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Then your company is then distributing it out
To
So
the agents.
If we
Yeah.
don't explain all that up front, I've been explaining mortgage documents for 20 years, so that, like,
Right.
this is a no-brainer, man. I
Right.
explain this all day long. This is just a couple numbers,
Yep.
but we, that's our job is to explain that.
I
in
do
the
break
fashion
it
that they
down
get it.
in my net sheet. I'll do buyer
Okay.
broker fee,
Yeah.
seller broker fee
Okay.
on my net sheet.
Do you show them? Do you ever show them what you're spending to get their house on the market?
No, I don't.
Okay.
I tell them this when I'm
Never.
doing like virtual tour. I'm like, well, how much is that going to cost me? I go, no. I pay for that.
Right.
And the broker administration fee, I have it on my sheet,
Yeah.
and it's 0.
Right.
And they say, and I tell them, a lot of agents are going to charge you this. I personally don't because that 3%, that 6% you're paying, 3 to me, 3 to the other guy, is enough. Okay, and I need to write off anyway, or whatever, right?
Yeah.
So, it's a matter of how you present it.
Mm-hmm.
People are spending a lot of money. Especially now when, a $600,000 house, which is not the Taj Mahal anymore.
Yeah.
That's $36,000
Right.
So
on
on
6%
And I'm
commission.
sorry, I got to jump.
yeah,
off
grab
to
it, grab
a
it, grab
call,
it.
So,
We're done in 5 minutes anyway.
all right.
So the net
I'm
sheet
gonna
you
sneak
do
around
not want to give. You have to be careful with the net sheets.
Sorry,
I've
man.
lost multiple deals because of net sheets.
In what way?
So like I used to do a net sheet actually showing all their potential costs and costs, right?
Right.
And because I wanted to be transparent so they'd see it. So I would take and go and give them a listing presentation. Well, then the RE/MAX guy would come in and he would just give the basics. Here's 3% you're paying us, 3% to the buyer's agent. You got a little bit of title stuff, a couple fees or whatever, but they didn't put like I was putting in there, hey, you're paying taxes from let's say January
Right.
to, but you get that back.
They don't do the tax
You-
proration.
You may
Right.
have some objections on an inspection, so let's just put $1,000. Maybe you'll spend
The
$1,000.
only thing I put in there are the actual closing costs, including proration.
Yes, and that's where I was getting burned because I was trying to be transparent because they are going to have extra costs.
And a lot of times I don't do it until
Like HOA, like HOA status letter
right.
or
yeah.
HOA,
I,
and
I
I'm
put
putting.
all that in.
Well, yeah, but I do that, but I would lose a listing because the Remax guy just had a basic.
They're just looking at
title.
the bottom number. They're not.
Yeah, I'd put the FedEx fee, $25. I'd put,
Yeah, me too.
See, yeah, and they would go, well, you had way too many fees, and I'm like, those were not my fees. I was just disclosing it,
Yeah.
and they're like, sorry. That
Yeah,
guy.
that's never happened well, as far as I know. A lot of times I won't do it until we get down to brass tacks of pricing the house.
Well, it's when yeah, that's right. That's right. That's exactly right. I don't do the net sheet anymore. I used
Yeah.
to do it in my listing presentations because
Yeah.
they're always asking, what do you charge? And so I thought, I'll start doing net sheets for them. That was horrible.
Yeah,
That
you know,
was-
so many times I've had occasions to where it's like, well, I want 580. Well, it's worth comps are showing 530.
Mm-hmm.
So when somebody asks me, how much do you think my house is worth? I'll tell them, but I always ask the question, what are your goals
Mm-hmm.
here for this
Right, here's
transaction?
the comps.
What are your goals? And I had it one time where the lady said, I don't want to share that with you.
Yeah, and I understand that.
Boom, I'm out the door.
Oh, really?
Out the door.
Huh,
If because here's what you have. You have a client that won't listen to you and that will blame you for everything that goes wrong because they're not listening. How can I help you achieve your goals when I don't know what they are? I've been in too long to.
well, it depends
to go
on
for
what
that.
you're meaning by what are your goals. If you mean financial goals and they don't want to share, I'm okay. If they're saying, I'm not going to tell you where I'm moving or what I'm doing,
Right.
But as far as financial, let's say, because you started out saying they want 580, it's 530. Some of these people, like for sale by owners, they want 580. And so I tell them, look, here's what I can
Right.
do. And I just did this to a guy. He was a FISBO, and he called me. I don't even know where he got my number. He just called me, and I have no idea. So maybe off the internet or something. But he was like, I have to have this amount of money. And I was like, oh, yeah, really? He's like, but I'm just too deep in it. And I said, well, here's what I can do. I can charge you for all the video production, the pictures, and all the different stuff, and we can try. That's all. I said, that's all I can
Right.
do for you. I just don't. I'll spend the time getting it set up and getting it listed or whatever, but I can't guarantee that I can sell this at that amount. So, well, he's come down another 10 grand, and so now maybe it's getting a little, well, maybe I'll get some action or whatever. I still don't think I'm going to sell it, but you never know.
Right.
I got a sign in the yard. I've got a couple calls. I've had, a couple
Yeah.
open houses, and so.
And the trick is that I've learned, they want 580. I think it's worth 530. I'll list it with whatever you want. I don't want to give up my hand on what I think it's worth, because what happens? Well, we listed with Joe Blow because he said he could sell it for 580,
Mm-hmm.
and then they sell it for 529.
Yes, right. That's why sometimes
I'm right, and Joe Blow just made $15,000.
Right. So that's why you kind of have to start at the 580 and see if you can be the Joe Blow to come down.
Right.
Because you get 5 people through
So
the
I
door.
want to. That's why I say. So, how much do you? What do you need? What do you want?
Yeah.
Let me see if I can. An appraiser values your house during a transaction not based on what it's worth.
Mm-hmm.
They know the price.
Mm-hmm.
They have a contract in front of them. They're
Yep.
justifying the value. So tell me, and let me see if I can justify it.
Yep.
And that's kind of how I try to play that without saying those words, because I mean, so many times I'm like, boy, I'm being brutally honest with you, and you're going to the guy that is telling you what you want to hear,
Yep.
and I'm right, and they get paid.
Yep.
You know, it's very frustrating.
Yep.
But I'm not going to lie to them.
That's right. No, of course not.
I'm never going to lie to them.
No. So on that note, let's wrap up because it's been an hour. And this is what Roundtable is, guys. We have a whole bunch of people that never come to Roundtable. And you might have heard all this and went, oh, yeah, that's boring. I already know all that. But you know what? It really sharpens our senses, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
It absolutely helps me sharpen everything because things that both of you guys said, I know that when I'm doing a transaction or something down the road, I'm going to remember some of these things.
Exactly.
It's incredible.
And just, you know, I remember about the listening part. I need to do that better too.
Yeah, right.
And that was my
exactly.
anecdote. You know, it was like, and that's my anecdote. And I'm like, yeah, I got to do that
That's
better.
right. That's right. So we're going to put this out there. And hey, when we have very few people show up for Roundtable, let's just do this again.
Yeah.
So anyway, this is the Roundtable for December 14th. Wish you were here.
Yes.
See you later. Bye.
Bye.